Father, we come today asking that you would grant us the space to expose the lies that are whispered or hammered into us by all else. But we desire your voice. Grant us the grace to listen well in this day of Shabbat. Allow us to reclaim wonder according to your terms. Come to me, all of you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. In Christ's name we pray, amen. I begin with this. You are more defined by the one day you rest than the 6 days you go to work. Let me underscore, let me repeat that. You are more defined by the one day you rest, like what you're doing now, than the 6 days that you actually go to work. The Greek writer Nikos Kazantzakis, who is popularly known as the giant of modern Greek literature, one day wondered about having lost wonder in his life. And so he sought to seek it by looking for men and women that he felt epitomized wonder. And one such person that he found alluring in terms of wonder was a monk who lived on one little shack in Mount Athos, Father Makarios. And so he interviewed Father Makarios. Nikos journaled this, and this was the conversation. Father Makarios, do you still wrestle with the devil? Father Makarios replied, not any longer, my child. I have grown old now, and the devil has grown old with me. He doesn't have the strength to wrestle me, because like me, he's grown old. These days, I wrestle with God. And then Nikos replied, with God? And you hope to win against God? Father Makarios went on to say, no, my child. With God, I hope to lose. I guess the big problem of our day is what Father Makarios succinctly captured. The problem is not in winning, because we were oriented. We got oriented, especially in North America. We are oriented to always win, even against God. And so we buy into a worldview that it's all about achievement and productivity. And Henry Nouwen, the good theologian, said it so well, that the modern man had fallen into a very clear paradigm of self-defining who he is. I am what I do. I am what I have. And I am what others say about me. Isn't it? Aren't we that? And that's a lie from the pit of hell. Sadly. Because that's not who we are. And if you live a life like that, that's determined by productivity and achievement, and that your life is by what you gain, then you're missing the mark according to God. Because according to God, self-definition would get you nowhere. He has to define who we are. If you truly believe that He created us, then He has the rights to tell us who we are and what we're supposed to do and what we're supposed to become. And so self-identity is not a matter of self-achievement or productivity, but it's a matter of receiving. So identity is more of receiving from God rather than building up things for myself and then allowing this stuff to determine who I am. And that is the reason why the problem of Christianity today is not a problem of cognition, a problem of intellect, or a problem of knowing. The problem of Christianity today is a problem of wonder. I guess there is a shortage of people of God whom you can, with all honesty, look deep into their lives and say, my goodness, that life is full of wonder. And wherever he gets that, or she gets that, I want that. That seems to be a rare sighting these days. Because I think modern men are more inclined to achieve and produce and to accumulate stuff in order to define who they are. Even Christians fall prey into this delusion. That's why there is a need to reclaim wonder. You are more defined by the one day you rest than the 6 days you work. Because something more than magic happens on the one day of rest that God has prepared for His people, and it's called Sabbath. And hopefully we are on that segment today as we are worshiping God. I'd like to explore this with you by citing 3 brief verses on the origins of humanity. But before I do that, I will throw in a pop quiz. How many days are there in the day of creation? Come on, don't be bashful. I'm looking at the front row. How many days are there? Yeah, 6 or 7. There's an intellectual debate going on here in the first 2 rows. You can argue for both actually. 6 or 7 will do. But 6 if you want to be technical, and 7 if you want to be abstract. So that's good. 6, yeah, active work of God in creating the world. Young. Every single day there was work. But we all agree that on the 7th day, God rested. That's according to the biblical narrative. That's not the pop quiz. The pop quiz is this. The pop quiz is on the 6 days that God created and did the universe. What day was it when man and woman were created? Come on. Of course. The 6th day. Number 6. They're holding back. This is making me nervous. The 6th day was when Adam and Eve were created. Adama and Eve. Humanity, human life. Now, That's not the pop question. That's not the pop quiz question. Here is the pop quiz question. Now we all know, as you mentioned, that Sunday was when God rested. The word is shalom. Shabbat. That's the word. He rested. By the way, there's a biblical definition of Shabbat. We will explore that later. But here goes the pop quiz. And so Adam and Eve were created on the sixth day. So the entire day they were created, and we were told there was night. Immediately after they were created, and then the sixth day ended. It was like that in the narrative. There's a beginning of the day, and then it ends, and then something got created. On the sixth day, there's a beginning of the sixth day, and then something got created, Adam and Eve, and then it ends. And then the seventh day begins. Pop quiz is this. What was the very first thing that Adam and Eve set themselves to do after they were created? Remember, they were created on the sixth day and then it ended. Of course! The first thing they did was to rest. Isn't that radical? Isn't that theologically pregnant with an unusual scope on how to look at life? That man was crafted initially with a very important procedure before he sets out to do activity. Man, woman, you need to rest first. Why? You know, the 7-day calendar is unique to the Judeo-Christian field. It just got borrowed by others. Because it's here, it's in creation. And why do the others borrow it? Because it's too good. It's too good. 6 days, and then 1 day of work. And then 6 days, and then 1 day of work. But then, we kind of like look at the paradigm and shift it and say, the most important thing are the 6 days, and I get to do vacation and watch the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. Rest. And we got it all wrong because we don't understand what Shabbat is. Because Shabbat is about wonder. You know why God made it a point that Adam and Eve got crafted on Saturday? So that they'll be prepared for the most delightful day of the week, which is the day of Shabbat, where God decided to rest. And do you know what resting is? It's not because God got tired, so he needs to take some Red Bull and take a hammock and look at, I'm so tired, those were brutal days, I need to rest. No. God never gets tired. There is something theologically deep and why there is Shabbat, and it has something to do with wonder. The word Shabbat in the Hebrew language is always purpose-driven. It is actually to take a pregnant pause before one steps into creative action. That's the word Shabbat. It is when David Talagit, before he gets the keyboard, did you notice the ruins of David Talagit? Picks up, he stands here, puts on the headset, that's how he starts. He doesn't go up frantically and hammers the keys immediately. I'm watching the NBA Finals, and the professionals who miss the free throw are the ones who are panicking. They get the ball from the referee, and without thought, they just throw it up like that, and they miss. The ones who are seasoned veterans, you know how they do it. They get the ball, they don't pay attention to anything. They ignore the audience, they look at the ball, and they do this. Boom. It separates greatness from mediocrity. Shabbat. Because as far as God is concerned, the pregnant pause is the tenacity of purpose that you cook inside why you're even venturing into what you're about to do. It's doing something out of a centered purpose, which can never happen if there is no Shabbat. And so if you set out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, without even conceptualizing what you're even going to do, what you're about to do, then it's an exercise in futility. Before you know it, you're 70 years old, you're 80 years old, you've amassed a lot of things, you've gathered a lot of credentials, you look back and your life has no wonder at all. Why? Because you just missed the point. You have not gotten your spot from God. And that is the reason why we should never neglect the gift of wonder. And people, if you're here today, no one brought you here, not your friend. It is the God who pursued you, who is pursuing you, and is inviting you with an open envelope, and is wanting for you to know, you know what you're doing right now is good, because this is the day of wonder, because I can't wait to bless you, so that you can go out tomorrow and show them who I am through your work. And so, life begins. The cycle today, the day of rest. So you're in a good place. There was an opportunity cost, of course. You could have extended your sleep. You could have gone to some other place, but you've chosen to say yes to the small, still voice that invited you. Come on, stand up, rise, go to church, and experience wonder. The first movement is this. The rest of God is an invitation to form a new kind of human community. And here we seek to define wonder as something that is not achieved, but is something that you receive from God. And that is the reason why when a person says yes to God, you do not say, wow, did you hear this? Did you hear that so and so is now a doer? No, you never do that. You say, wow, did you hear this? So and so is now a believer. Because Christianity is not about doing, it's about receiving. It's about being told by God who you are. And Shabbat is about listening and hearing God. What if humanity was crafted to really hear God? What if humanity cannot function without hearing God? And so what arrogance is it to dismiss the day of Shabbat in our weekly calendars and trade it with some vacation or with some frantic professionalism or some recreation and be arrogant and tell us, I don't need to hear God. I can handle it on my own. By the way, there are many competing forces for that, to be sure. There are many voices, including your own, is the most notorious when your own logic tells you that you don't need to listen to God. That is the reason why people here in North America, you have to fight for Shabbat, because it will be taken away from you by default. North America runs on the fuel of productivity, and not unless you fight for Shabbat will you be able to get it. You will not. And so let's go to the text. The first thing that I'd like for you to note on reclaiming wonder is the aspect of completion. And thus the heavens and the earth were completed. The word is completed in all their vast array. I'd like for you to ruminate on that word first, completed. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. By the seventh day, God had finished the work, He had been doing. So on the seventh day, He rested from all His work. The aspect of completion. This tells us that God will bring to perfection His work in history through His holy people. If you have any doubts that that's going to happen, look at the narrative of Isaiah 45, for example. This most incredible narrative of the Lord God using a pagan king to accomplish His purposes. That's the reason why if you read that narrative in Isaiah 45, it will tell you God is saying, don't you know that I am God? No one goes against me. No one can go against me. If I set my sights on anything, I can use anything. I can use a donkey to preach the word if you say no. I can use a pagan king to marshal my purposes. Just because I am God, I seek to accomplish everything that I set my purposes on. I seek to complete them. That's why we see in Philippians 1:6, for I'm confident that this very thing, that He who began a good work in you will complete it until the day of Christ Jesus. That's why we see in Hebrews 12:12, the Lord Jesus said that He's the author and the finisher of our faith, because He completes it. And because He completes everything, His attribute is that of completion. He invites His people to recognize that when He crafted us, we were meant to be like Him. And that is the reason why a lot of people are depressed today. You know why? Because we start a lot of things and we don't finish it. There's something in us that's nagging us. My goodness, I started that and it's not done yet. And we have multiple points, unfinished business going on in our lives, and we're wondering why we're depressed. Because of unfinished business. Because we are like God. We were made in His imago Dei. And so we turn to Him for completion of things that are not done in our lives, because He's the only one who can give us the wisdom on what needs to be completed, and what are irrelevant, and which ones are unnecessary, and which ones should be prioritized. That sort of a thing. We have the God of wisdom who is all about completion. The next thing that I'd like for you to consider, yes, He's a God of completion, but He's also about cessation. And what is cessation? It is stopping, right? It is man's expression to declare his conviction to say no, in order to declare his commitment that everything that he is about his God, the one who created him. And that's the reason why we find here in the cessation, by the seventh day, God has finished the work He had been doing. So on the seventh day, He rested from all His work. As if we're following the flow of the narrative, why did He rest? Was it because He got tired, took a nap in a hammock? No. He rested because He was preparing something wonderful. He rested after the 6 days because He took an inventory of all the things that He crafted, and He said, it's good. It's all very good. Now He pulled back. The word Shabbat, remember, first time it's used in the Bible, it's here. And the first time it's used, it takes the form of a verb. Now that is significant. Because when Shabbat takes the form of a verb, it resembles the force of a rifle. that's about to be fired, that's taking its aim, because all the mechanisms are in place. The chamber is settled with a bullet, and it's ready to fire and hit the mark. That is the word for Shabbat. It is not a call to idleness. It is not a call to laziness. It is the call to aim at the goal. Dribble, dribble, pause, center, release, nothing but net. It's like that. It's when God sees. The language of Shabbat is this. When you look at what you have done, and in our case, when you look at what God has given you, and then you take an inventory of all the goodness that God has provided before you, around you, within you, and you say, wow, what raw material I've got here. It's not this. If you're not in Shabbat, this is what you're going to do. Oh my goodness, he's got that. He's got that phone, I don't have it. Oh my goodness, he's got those shoes. Don't know. Oh no, he's got that degree, he just graduated. Oh no. If you're not into Shabbat, that's going to be your stuff. You will do nothing but compare yourselves with others because you're missing the point. God will grant you raw material based on the measure of competence that He has given you. We're not measured the same. Because He's infinite. He will only give you what you can handle. And it's not even your fault. Because He gives the competence. He wants for you to delight in your competence. See? And so He wants for you to stop. Pause. Receive it from me. This is your craft. I made you like this. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I like for you to soar with what I've given you, but take stock of what I've given you. And then you soar from there. Stop comparing yourselves with others. You'll be depressed. Because it's not about productivity and achievement and what people say. But it's what I tell you. That's what you go with. But how will you discover that if you do not encounter Yahweh, El Shaddai, Adonai? If you don't meet with Him on the day of Shabbat, so you have to stop. That's the reason why. Again, that is the reason why we say that the first full day, that's why we say that you are more defined by the one day you rest than the 6 days that you produce. Now, the third thing, you have completion, you have cessation, and then the flow, of course, naturally flows into consecration. Listen to this, because this is delightful. Then God, after He rested from all His work, then God, verse 3, then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy. Because on it He rested from all the work of creating that He had done. Now this is so unique. Because in ancient Near Eastern literature, the seventh-day motive has been borrowed, but then they kind of like, it's like an Avengers movie where the 6 days of fighting and the 7, it's kind of like the Infinity War, where the good guys lose. I hope I did not give that away. But it's kind of like on the 7th day, what did that happen? That was a cataclysmic loss. Well, that's ancient Near East literature. The 7th day is chaos. But now, the story of creation. It is only in the Genesis narrative, in the story of creation, where the 6 days is God creates, creates. And then on the seventh day, the beautiful rest. The day of wonder. That's the only ancient narrative that has that. And that's the reason why this is so unique. There's nothing like it out there. That's the only biblical narrative that has on its narrative a day of wonder. The day of Shabbat. And not only that, look at the blessing. And then God blessed. You know this word, delightful and delicious word of blessing. You know what blessing is? Do you know how humans like us gravitate towards beauty? Because you know, the word blessing in Hebrew has a deep correlation and symmetry with beauty. You know why God pulls back and says this is good, and God pulls back and says this is very good? Listen, people, it's not because it's moral good, because nothing is happening yet. Understand that. He pulls back and says this is good, and then he couldn't take it anymore. He puts an absolute, this is very good. Because he can't help it. He says this is beautiful. Everything that I've created is beautiful. You know why? At the very heart of God is the deep capability and aptitude to look at beauty and exclaim that it's good, and that's what I want in my life. I think Jonathan Edwards has an entire essay, I think an entire literary work on the beauty of God. And he's saying that we are drawn to God because of the innate beauty that we have in our lives. And that is the reason why we always gravitate towards beauty. You always say, wow, you have to watch that film. It is so beautiful. You never invite friends to go and see, man, that film is ugly. Let's watch it again. It's so ugly. Man, your car is so beautiful. What kind of a car is that? Look at that. Oh my, you're bad. Don't buy that. It's so beautiful. Louis Vuitton knows what he's doing. My goodness. I don't know what bag is that. There's nothing immoral about that, people. But sometimes Christians are so legalistic. They tend to equate the good things with greed immediately. Well, this is broken, I understand that. But there's nothing wrong about beauty, you know why? Because beauty is inside us. It's in our DNA. We do not gravitate towards ugliness. When something is beautiful, it becomes a spectacle to the very craftsmanship of God. Look at you people, you're beautiful. Stop listening to the whispers in the mirror that tells you that you're an ugly, wicked queen. You know why? You think you're an ugly, wicked prince? Come on, do an inventory. Are you missing Sabbath? Because God never makes mistakes. This is exactly how He wanted my face to look like. This is exactly how God wanted me, with all imperfections. He knew that at a certain age I would have to lose my jaw. He had to replace it. By the way, He knew exactly where I was going to expire. That's why He provided a pass to conquer the expiration date, so that I would return back to the origins and the beginnings of beauty for life eternal. He's committed to beauty. Death is so ugly. But Jesus looked at death and He started laughing and He said, "Where is your sting? My beauty shall outlast your ugliness." That's why I think Avengers Part 2, I think Spider-Man will resurrect. I can't help that. I have to give that up. Because I was so sad when Spider-Man died. That's my favorite Marvel character. I warned. I said, that can't happen. So that can't happen. Don't. And then it did. What's going to happen to Spider-Man now? And then suddenly I was told by Wikipedia that there's going to be Avengers Part 2, March 2019, of course. Spider-Man has to live again. That's just comics. It's not true. But I have here something that's true. So, application. Very simple. Here goes. What is one area in my life, in your life, that calls for completion? You were good at it, and you figured that whenever you were at it, it brought you life. I don't care what it is. Crocheting, knitting, swimming, hiking, fill in the blanks, boxing, whatever, dancing, skydiving, whatever. But it just stopped. And you kind of like faded away. Because there's something that God placed in your heart that somehow got sidelined because you took on a lot of productivity. And it depressed you. And so you stopped crocheting. You stopped your crossword puzzles. You walk in the parks. Your hobby. This thing that you have, just you and God. By the way, this is not recreation per se, but understand, one area that you know is so God-given. That you know it has to be God who gave it to you because you're just having fun. Like it's almost like magical, but now it's no more. You know, I recommend just one. What was that you used to do that got sidelined, never completed? Would you please resurrect that and ask the Lord, Lord, you gave that to me. Let's do it again. And let me worship you in the process. You know what I wrote in mine? Songwriting. I used to songwrite a lot. And then, I think I showed my wife, I have about 50 songs before I became a pastor. And I used to be prolific. I think of anything. Some of them are love songs. When I was courting Manel, I would just be so quick. I would make a song, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and it sounded well. And some of the songs that I composed, you heard probably. They're not virtuoso, but they could fly. But I have a lot of fun composing songs. But one day, it just stopped. You know why it stopped? I think it was 6 years ago or 5 years ago that I had some kind of an excitement to compose songs from the book of Romans. That's why I was kind of like, I want to do the songs of Romans. And one song per chapter. So there's going to be, there's going to be some 16 songs in there. And I began. But I have a quirk about my compositions. I have to compose my songs using the best. I'm kind of like an artist, so I need to have the best guitar. And because I can't quite get the best guitar, I would always go to a friend who has very good guitars. I have a friend who collects guitars, and so I would call this friend. I have a song brewing in my mind, can I come and get one of your guitars because I need to compose? Oh, sure, come to my house. Like that. On this particular setup, I called this friend and I told him about the Romans project. And he said, sure, please come. I'll prepare the guitar, not only the guitar, but the amplifier. I'll set you up. This is a major problem, Butch, so go. So I went. And he said, by the way, Butch, this is not a regular guitar. This is my most expensive guitar. I said, why? Don't ask. But it sounds different, and the wood is exquisite. It's one of a kind, but use it for the book of Romans. And I'm excited. So produce it. Let's go. My goodness. I guard this with my life. Since I took it home, and I strummed it, the Martin something, and it sounded like the harp of some angel from heaven. I couldn't even get past. I couldn't even think of composing because it's just unusually good. I've never had a guitar like that. Well, I said, I'll start. But then I was into production, a lot of things going on, and I was in New York at that time when I received a call from my friend. And this was on the other end. It was afternoon, he was driving in Texas, I was in New York, and then he said, hey brother, so how's the project going on? How's the composition? How's the book of Romans songs? And I said, oh no, this is embarrassing. I haven't started it yet. Oh no, you're procrastinating, Pastor. You better get on that thing. You understand, that's the reason why I lent you the guitar. Okay, sir. End of conversation. Little did I know that that was going to be my last ever conversation with my brother Tim, because he died the following day. I was walking in Brooklyn and I received this call from Gemma. And breaking with all kinds of sadness and told me a news that I don't know what to do with it. I was kind of like in a zombie state, not knowing what to do with it. So I went home and looked at the guitar. This is unfinished. So I called Gemma and I told her, Gemma, I need to return the guitar. She said, return it to Tim, don't return it to me. I said, I couldn't return it to Tim. So, you know, it's still in my office. And 5 or 6 days after the death of Tim, I haven't done a song on the book of Romans. When I was preparing this sermon, the first thing that came to mind, it's like hearing the voice of Tim. Hey buddy, I'm up here. Don't worry about me. But you better finish that song. That's on my list. What is one area in your life that needs to be completed? For me, it's songwriting. What about you? Because it's going to bring Sabbath. It's going for you. God gifted you with something. Not only one for most of you. But that one thing that God gave you is to bless. And if you're withholding that, you're withholding wonder towards us, towards God. So what is yours? Fill in the blanks. What needs to be completed? Write it down. Number 2, what is one area in my life that calls for cessation? That really stops you from being the kind of person that God wants you to be. And you're so involved in a lot of things. And good ones are the most notorious. The good ones, because they crowd out. The better ones are the most notorious, because they crowd out the best. And the only things that are necessary. So what is that? You have to tell God. What is that? At least one. What is one area that I need to stop? Write it down. May you find boldness and courage in your heart because of listening to God from His Word today to say, I'm done with that. I'm not going to be defined by that anymore. I'm going to turn to you. You tell me what I need to do. I'm done. For some of you, it might be a hobby. For some of you, it might be a death knell relationship. A relationship that's killing you. A friend. That's toxic. But you just can't pull away. Because there are fringe benefits. But God is clearly telling you, as one area that I hold up against you. Because so long as you are there, you're not going to be able to listen fully to me. What's one area? For some of you, it might be the job. Because you already have 3. Because you're all about achieving and accumulating. So you have to maintain the status. So you have 3 jobs. Maybe God is saying, quit the 2 tomorrow. Maybe for some of you, a hard decision. Tell the husband, I'm quitting. I'm staying home with the kids. Don't look at me that way. Because Manel did that. And if there is one wonderful decision we've ever made as a couple, was when Manel decided to homeschool our little kids and stay with them. It works. If it doesn't come from me, you have to have a talk with God. So I'm not pretending that I'm telling you what to do. No. Don't listen to me. Listen to the voice of Sabbath. It's happening now. Because God is a God of wonder. And finally, what is one blessing, just one, that I seek to give to reclaim wonder? For sure, God has given you one thing in your life that God can't wait for you to share towards others. Because remember, blessing is the Shabbat, God stepping into our lives, not pulling away like a cosmic God so distant. No. Christianity and the wonder of Christian faith is when you get involved by sharing your life. And by life it means all of the above. Yourself, your resources, your prayers, your pains, your victories, your own journey. That's the wonder of the Christian life. When you experience community leveraged from a deep rest. Because you know your life is not for yourself, but your life was meant for others. That's the model of our Redeemer, who by constant Shabbat disappears and runs to the mountains to be alone, so that he will never forget that he came to serve and not to be served. Our Father, this is our prayer, that as we seek to be in the likeness of Christ, you have spoken to us in several touch points. I pray for my brothers and sisters, for that one thing that you're calling them to complete, that it might be concretized today. I pray for that one thing that you're asking them to stop. There has to be a hard stop. Not tomorrow, not tonight, but today, in your presence. What is that? And I pray for that one blessing that you're inviting each and every one of us to share. Not only to this church, but for all the world to see. It's a whole new world. It's a world of wonder. And it's found in Christ. Enter in. Amen.